Hey everyone, today we're going to learn about our friend Elvis Presley. So, some of you might already know who he is if you have parents that enjoy listening to his music. If you do not, we will learn about him today. So, he was born January 8th, 1935, and passed away August 16th, 1977. Overarching things about him. So, Elvis Aaron Presley was his full name. He's also known as just Elvis, was an American singer and actor. He is considered one of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century, and he's often referred to as the King of Rock and Roll or simply the King. Elvis Presley received his first guitar when he was 11 years old. He learned to play and sing, and he had no formal musical training, but had a natural talent and could easily pick up music. He played guitar, bass, and piano. He often played an instrument in his recordings and produced his own music. Elvis played piano in songs such as Old Shep and in Unchained Melody, which is one of the last songs that he recorded. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. This cutie underneath the arrow is our friend Elvis, all little with suspenders and glasses. So we title this Elvis Had Disappointments Too. So a few things. He entered a contest that was held at the Mississippi Alabama Fair and Dairy Show, October 3rd, 1945, and it was his first public performance, and he was only 10, and he stood on a chair to reach the microphone and sang a country song called Old Shep, and he got fifth place. He played and sang during lunchtime at school and was often teased. He was a devoted listener of a radio show called Mississippi Slims, and he was described as crazy about music by Slim's younger brother, who happened to be one of Elvis Presley's classmates and often took him into the radio station. And when Elvis was 12 years old, Slim scheduled him for 2 on-air performances on the radio. But he was unfortunately overcome by stage fright the first time, so he didn't do it the first time. But he succeeded in performing the following week, the second time around. And Elvis received a C in music in 8th grade. So when his music teacher told him that he had no natural ability for singing, he brought in his guitar to school the next day and sang to prove her wrong. And a classmate recalled that the teacher didn't appreciate his kind of singing. He was usually too shy to perform openly and was occasionally bullied by classmates, but he kept playing and singing anyway. So, despite all these things that our friend Elvis had to go through, even at a young age, being fifth place at 10 years old, being teased, being bullied, and having his teacher be so mean to say something like he has no natural ability for singing, which is just so not right. He still had enough confidence to keep going anyway, which is really important because you might have that happen in your lifetime. It happened to me too. So you want to make sure that you don't let anybody try to tell you what to do or what they think you're good at and what you're not good at. You work hard, and Elvis is a good example of how it's important to keep going with what you love and what you're passionate about and how you can still make it even if you might have disappointments or setbacks and things like that. Okay, let's keep going. So, moving along. This is our friend Elvis, a little older. His high school yearbook photo. He graduated June of 1953. So, overcoming his fear of performing, he competed in Humes High School's annual show in April of 1953. Singing and playing guitar, he recalled that the performance did much for his reputation. Now, this is a quote from him. "I wasn't popular in school. I failed music. Only thing I ever failed. And then they entered me in this talent show. When I came on stage, I heard people kind of rumbling and whispering and so forth, because nobody knew I even sang. It was amazing how popular I became after that." So Elvis Presley, again, like I mentioned, had no formal musical training and couldn't read music. He studied and played everything by ear. He also hung out in record stores that had jukeboxes and listening booths. He was a regular audience member at the monthly all-night singings downtown, where many of the white gospel groups that performed reflected the influence of African American spiritual music. He loved gospel music. He regularly listened to the regional radio stations that played what they called back then as race records, such as spirituals, blues, and the modern backbeat heavy sound of rhythm and blues. Many of his future recordings were inspired by local African American musicians. By the time he graduated from high school in June of 1953, Presley had already singled out music as his future. Okay, so in 1953 and 54, Elvis went to Sun Records to pay for 2 different recording sessions of 5 cover songs he liked as a gift for his mother. Not too long after recording those songs, Elvis came across Sun's producer named Sam Phillips, who was looking for someone like Elvis and his unique sound. Sam invited 2 local musicians who were guitarists, Winfield Scotty Moore and upright bass player Bill Black, to work something up with Presley for a recording session. And a few months later, he had his first television debut on the Louisiana Hayride. By early 1955, Presley's regular Hayride appearances, constant touring, and well-received record releases had made him a regional star, from Tennessee to Texas. One musical journalist described the music as a rhythm and blues with a jazz and country blend to it. This blend of styles made it difficult for Presley's music to find radio airplay. Country radio stations would not play their songs because they claimed the music was too rhythm and blues for their station, and the rhythm and blues stations said it was too country sounding. Their blend of music was eventually to become a new style of music called Rockabilly. Gotta love that face. Big old mouth singing. So that's just the cover of one of his CDs, which is his first single, The Heartbreak Hotel. And it was released in 1956 and became a #1 hit. He became the leading figure of the newly popular sound of rockabilly or rock and roll. Now, RCA Records released Presley's album in 1956 with 5 previously unreleased song recordings. Its 7 tracks were a broad variety. There were 2 country songs, a bouncy pop tune, and the others would be defined as the evolving sound of rock and roll. A music critic of that time described him like this, quote, "Unlike many white artists who watered down the gritty edges of the original R&B versions or rhythm and blues versions of songs in the 50s, Presley reshaped them. He not only injected the tunes with his own vocal character, but also made guitar, not piano, the lead instrument in all 3 cases." So today we're going to learn about a song called The Heartbreak Hotel. The lyrics were written by a steel guitar player named Tommy Durden, who was once a dishwasher repairman. A songwriter named Mae Axton wrote the music, and Elvis's manager arranged for Elvis to receive a songwriting credit in exchange for singing it. This meant that all royalties would be split between Durden, Axton, and Elvis. And the first Elvis recordings were done at Sun Studios in Memphis, as he was signed to Sam Phillips' Sun Records. In November 1955, RCA Victor bought his contract from Sun for $35,000, which is a lot of money back then. The first RCA recording sessions were held in January of 1956 at their Nashville studios, and that's where Elvis recorded the song. The song got a boost when Elvis performed it on Stage Show, a TV series in February of 1956, which was his 3rd appearance on the show. And in April, he performed it on The Milton Berle Show, and 2 weeks later, the song reached #1 in the US for 8 weeks straight. It's pretty awesome. Elvis was 21 years old when this song was released in 1956. Heartbreak Hotel made him a national sensation. and it was his first number one hit on the US Billboard pop chart, and it also topped the country chart. Over the next 7 years, he always had at least one song in the top 10 on the pop chart. He even told the club owner he performed this in that this is going to be my first hit. That's his own quote. And this was Elvis's first release on his new record label with RCA Victor. The song earned Elvis his first gold record, given for sales of over 1 million. And Billboard presented Elvis with a double triple crown award for simultaneously reaching number one on all 6 of their pop and country charts with this song. This song also reached the top 5 on the R&B chart as well. All right, now let's take a listen. We got an actual live performance to watch for this song, so enjoy.
Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of Lonely Street at Heartbreak Hotel. I'll be so lonely inside. Although it's always crowded, you still can find some room for a broken-hearted love. Keep flowing from the desk clerks dressed in black. Well, they've been so long on lonely street. Well, they're so lonely, they pray to die. You've got a tale to tell, but just take a walk down lonely street to Heartbreak Hotel. You'll be so lonely, you could die.
Okay, so that was lots of fun. If you've never heard Elvis before, that might be an interesting performance for you just because he does some crazy leg dance moves sometimes when he plays, and he has an interesting stage performance. I guess just stage presence is what you should call it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that performance, and thanks for listening, and I will see you all next time.